Welcome all, the Bhagavad Gita. So, the first lesson which we learn in the previous video is it's not only okay to be confused, it's a darn good thing. Now that you are confused, don't look outside for help, look inside. Echoes of the Gita can be found in the American novel To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. The story is set in the 1930s in a small conservative town in Alabama, a part of the USA that was highly racist at that time. The white population of the town is furious with Atticus, and Scout and her older brother Jem bear the brunt of their insults. Because his loyal father Atticus takes a decision to defend a black man against a white man in court. One day, Scout asked her father exactly why he was taking on such a controversial case. He replied, "Well, most folks seem to think that they are right and you're wrong. They are certainly entitled to think that, and they are entitled to full respect for their opinions," said Atticus. "But before I can live with other folks, I've got to live with myself. The one thing that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's conscience." And Atticus goes on to fight the case and lose, but his children never forget the lesson in courage and conviction that he taught them by his actions. So now Arjuna, who is torn, who is completely at a confusion as to what to do and what not to do. So here Krishna smiles and tells him, "Why do you grieve, Arjun? Don't. There is no need for sorrow. You can't really kill anyone, Neither your venerable grandfather, nor your beloved Acharya, neither your cousins nor your friends. Even you, Ati Maharati, do not have that power." Arjun's head shot up in surprise. "What do you mean? When I shoot my arrows into them, will they not hurt nor bleed? Will they not fall to the ground, these men never to rise again? I don't know what you call it, Krishna, but I call it murder, plain and simple." "Ah, that's because you aren't seeing the true picture, Arjun," Krishna said. "What is birth really? What is death? Do you imagine that before we were born, we didn't exist? Of course we did, in some other form. After we die, do we cease to exist? Not really. We continue to exist, but in yet another form. That's all. Does that make sense?" Arjuna shook his head. "Look at it from a different angle. What is it that really dies when a person dies? Only his physical body, but his soul, his Atman, which is the true essence of him, the untouchable, invisible spirit of him. Now that cannot be destroyed, ever. If you imagine that you can kill someone's Atman or spirit, there is no greater fool than you." The great archer's brow furrowed. He wanted so badly to believe what his friend was saying, but Krishna's argument was simply not working for him. "Think of it this way, Arjun," Krishna tried again. "The body is just a temporary home for the soul. Just as we change our clothes, the soul changes bodies. casting off its old one to take on a new one. The soul itself is indestructible, unchangeable. Now that you know you can do no real harm to your nearest and dearest, why are you worried? Just go out there and fight. But Arjun was far from convinced. Atman, indestructible, unchangeable, comforting words, Krishna, and they may even be true if you are saying them. But what solace is it to me to know that at the end of the war I will only have destroyed my brothers' bodies and not their immortal souls? I will still have lost them as I know them, wouldn't I? Krishna shrugged. Okay, let's have it your way then. Let's say that you have lost them forever. But didn't you always know you would lose them someday? Of course you did. Did you actually believe that you could hold on to them for all eternity? Of course you didn't. Listen, Arjun, death is certain for anything that is born, and new birth is certain for anything that is dead. Now, tell me, does a wise man lament over something so inevitable? You see, the lesson which we learn from Gita is like, it says that matter cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes form. Like if you're in the 8th grade or older, you probably recognize this as something you studied in physics. It's called the law of conservation of matter. American astronomer Carl Sagan put it in a more goosebumpy way in his book Cosmos, where he says, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, and the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interiors of a collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff, and to star stuff we shall return, just like everything else in the universe. Yes, including the dinosaurs. So what happened to that star stuff that was in the dinosaurs? It got broken down and scattered about when they died, and then regrouped in different ways to form us millions of years later. In the Gita, Krishna says essentially the same thing in these two verses. Na tve vaham jatu, nasam na tvaha neme janadipa, na chaiva na bhavishyaham sarva vyamat parama. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings before you, and neither will any of us cease to be in the future. Nasto vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubheropi trishton tastivi, anayos tattva darsheh bihebi. All the wise seers have discovered this truth. Of the non-existent, there is no coming to be. Of the existent, there is no ceasing to be. So what are we saying here exactly? That what the Hindus call reincarnation, the process by which they believe the soul of a dead person is reborn in another person's body, is what scientists call the law of conservation of matter. That would be oversimplifying it, yes. They are both essentially the same idea. There is something, call it energy, life force, Atman, that is within us that can never be destroyed. Science generally looks down its nose at spirituality, casting it aside as a load of fanciful nonsense, and spirituality is constantly annoyed with science for demanding proof before it can believe in anything. But if they both sat down across a table and talked, they may find they have more in common than they realize. Well. This wasn't working, all this explanation. Logical arguments about death and dying were all very well when you were sitting in a comfortable room and talking about a hypothetical situation, but they fell flat when you were about to begin a battle where real people would die by your hand. Krishna decided to change the track. If Arjun wanted emotion instead of logic, he would get it. Think about who you are, son of Kunti, he said. You are a Kshatriya, member of a proud caste whose most basic duty is to engage in battle to defend what is good and just. Your very dharma, your bounden duty is to maintain order, by force if necessary. Running away to the mountains to meditate is simply not an option for your tribe. In fact, Krishna went on, you should be delighted at the opportunity that has presented itself before you. Not every Kshatriya gets to fight a lawful battle. You know very clearly which side is in the wrong here. It doesn't happen very often. Here's your open door to heaven, Arjuna. Fight to your potential, do your duty, and win a place there. Turn your back on the fight and you will be committing a sin. Fear jumped into Arjuna's eyes. Krishna saw it and dug in immediately and mercilessly. Oh, and I'm not even going to start on the dishonor you will bring upon yourself if you do not fight. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Partha, and you are the biggest there is. For a man like you, disrepute is 100 times worse than death. And you, my friend, will not survive the shame, trust me. Die in battle and you rise to heaven. Win and you conquer the earth. It's no-brainer. Come on, get up and fight. Krishna did not really believe that Arjun would leap up and plunge into battle at his words, and Arjuna didn't. Shrewdly, Krishna changed track once again. There is only one trick in the book, Arjun, he said. Learn it, and your every confusion will be instantly resolved. Master it, and you will be free. Arjun raised his head, his eyes full of hope. You're not teasing me again, are you, Krishna? Krishna shook his head slowly. Fine, friend, you are turning out to be, scolded Arjuna, feigning anger. If the answer to my confusion was that simple, why have you been holding out on me all this while? Teach it to me now quickly. I am weary of this conflict that rages in my head. Go on, what is it? The compassionate Lord smiled to himself. Impatient, beloved Arjuna, gifted man of action, brilliant student who had quickly perfected every skill his teachers had taught him, so confident of mastering every trick in the book. Ah, Partha, he chuckled to himself. I suspect this particular trick will require rather more work than the others. And then, finally, Arjun listened to Krishna. And even Krishna looked fondly into his friend's eager and upturned face. That's all in this video. The Bhagavad Gita continues. Do subscribe and share. Thank you.